Hello everyone, this is Awabakib and today we're going to discuss February March 2019's paper 21. So let's proceed. So as usual we'll be working for Tawara something and the first task is to fill the evidence document. So we'll go to the source files. Okay, so let me make sure that I have the correct source files. Okay, so we'll open the M219 evidence document. Okay, it's opening. We enable editing. Alright, so the next step is make sure that your name, center number and candidate number appears on every page of your evidence document. Now to do that we have to put it either in the header or footer, so we always use header unless it's explicitly asked for the footer. So two ways to add the header: you go to insert and you go to the header, or you just double click on this area up here. Alright, since we have to add three things, we will use the headers built-in template of 3 tabs. So I'll put the name here. So let's assume the student is Batman and his center number is Gotham 123 and his student ID is 0003, because why not? Alright, so it says that we have to make sure that the word process document is saved in the work area as a new file. Okay, the reason they're asking is because the default format of the document is .rtf. .rtf is basically rich text format. Okay, but right now we are working in Microsoft Word, so we'll be saving it as doc format. Okay, .doc. So we'll save it as a new file instead of overwriting it. Okay, so we'll put it. So we'll append our student ID, that in our case is 0003. Okay, so we proceed to task 2. In the evidence document we'll be putting the screenshots that we already know quite well. Okay, so now we have to edit a document and apply some paragraph styles and correct it. Okay, so we have to open the file m219archaeology.rtf. Okay, so I'll sort the files by their type to make it easy for me to look up the file. So M archaeology is in front of us right now. Alright, so the first thing that we have to do is we have to open it in a suitable word processing package. As always, we'll be opening it in Word. So we have to save the document in the work area in a format of the software that we are using. So again, it would be saved as a doc file, because otherwise it is in a rich text format, and the name of the file would be a90xinfo. Okay, so you go to file, you go to save as, you browse and you paste the name. Okay, so the important thing to do here is you select Word document and you have saved it successfully. Okay, so the first evidence that we have to put in the document is to put the screenshot that we have saved. Okay, so now to look up the type, so you can easily go to the folder, right click, and you can click on the more. Okay, and this will show you the type. So you select it and it will show you the format of the folder and the files. Okay, so you open the snipping tool. Okay, so I always prefer snipping tool over paint because it is much easier to crop the screenshots up in here. So you take the screenshot. Okay, why is it not working? So let's try it again. So I select the area. Okay, so I have the file selected. I press Ctrl C, copy it, and I put it under the evidence 1. Okay, so we have shown that it is indeed now Microsoft Word document. Okay, so if I double click on this, it can show it fully, but no problem. Alright, so the next thing is change the document setting to be A4 with landscape orientation. Okay, it's very it's quite easy to mix the documents, so always ensure that unless evidence is explicitly mentioned that you have to make some changes into it, only then we do that. Otherwise it's always the main document that we work in. So we have to change the settings to A4 with landscape. So you go to layout, you put it to landscape, you change the size to A4. Okay, so far so good. We save the work, Ctrl S. Okay, so we are done the second part. till the second part. Now in task 3, so you have to set all the margins to 2 centimeter. Now before we put the margins to, it's always a very good idea to read further ahead a couple of parts, especially if they are connected, because it always gives us a good pointer of what we're supposed to do. Okay, so sometimes I know in exam we rush, even I still do that, so just always read a couple of parts in advance to get a clear picture of what you are being asked. So you set all the margins to 2 centimeters and you put in the evidence document the margin sizes and the paper size and the orientation. Okay, so it's a simple thing. So you go to layout, you go to margins. Since you have to do custom margins, we'll make them all 2, 2, 2 and 2. Okay, and we press OK. So all the margins are set to 2. Now for the evidence document, you can just click on this button to extend the page setup menu, or you can click on the margins. Okay, so you need to take a screenshot of this. So you open the snipping tool, press Ctrl N for a new screenshot, and you can either put the whole screenshot or just the relevant part. Okay, so Ctrl C, you open the evidence document, you put it under evidence 2. Okay, so this was for the margins. We have also you also need to put the screenshot for the page size. Okay, so you go here again, now you click on paper, so this would show you the page size and the width and height and etc. You again Control C and you put it under the evidence 2. Make sure you don't mix the evidences, it's really necessary. Okay, for the fourth part you have to place the header in the document. An automated date field to display today's date left aligned. Okay, so in order to put the header, you can either double click on this empty area, or you can go to insert and you put the header. Okay, so let's double click here, click on header. Okay, so since we want how many things we want, an automated date field 1, and then we want 3 other things here. Okay, so instead of pressing tab or spacebar to align them, we'll use a shortcut. So we'll put 3 blanks as given in the template and we'll assign them values accordingly. So the first thing is the automatic date field. So that's simply you click on date and time. You can use any format, let's use the easiest one. Okay, it puts the current date to the left aligned box. Okay, so you delete the mid one, we don't need this, and up here you'll put the name, center number. Okay, so we'll use Batman, we were using Gotham 123 and 0003. Okay, so we are basically Batman, all of us. Okay, so moving on, we have to place in footer an automated page number left aligned. Okay, so you go to the footer and you double click here, so page number left aligned and the file name with its full path right aligned. Okay, so I'll highlight the important part. So page number, you can simply click on the page number. You can click on okay, before that, since we have to again use 2 fields, so we'll go and use this template. We'll delete the middle one since the first one has to be left aligned, so we put the left aligned box and we use the page number. Now instead of going to bottom of the page, you can simply go to the current position, so it would put the page number at your current position, and we have to put the full path of the file right aligned. So you go to, now in order to insert the file path, you go to quick parts, you go to fields. Okay, so you can either look manually like this, or you just click F and it will take you directly to the file path. Now, file name, sorry. Now in order to add the path, so you have to select this option. Please don't forget this, and it would successfully add the file path. Okay, so I see that the file path is too long, so I'll do some backspacing here. Okay, so this won't be an issue for you because your file path would be much simpler than yours. I should have renamed the folder. Okay, so anyways, so we have done this. Okay, make sure that all the items align to the page margins, no other text appears in the headers. Header and footer are displayed on all pages. Okay, so this is basically just verifying that everything that we did is on every page. Okay, so all the headers and all the footers are correct, and the page number is also working perfectly fine. So we have successfully completed our part number 4. And we move on to the next one, that is question number 5. Okay, so it talks about a couple of paragraph styling that we have to check. So as you can see in the document, you can, if you click on this button, this extension, so you can see all of these styles have been customized for us for this paper. So we have ERC title, subtitle, etc. So what we have to do in this question is we have to check that all the styles that have been defined here are applied as per the instructions in the Word document. And if, okay, so for the evidence, you have to put the evidence for any style that you correct. Okay, so we have to go one by one. So ARC title, sans serif. Okay, before we go to the actual question, I would like to discuss one thing. So sans, so the most common example of a font for sans serif would be Arial. Okay, so sans serif, and the most common font for a serif type would be your Times New Roman. Okay, so this is your serif font that is easily and widely available across all the operating systems and softwares. So if you keep forgetting about Arial being sans serif or etc., so you can easily label it as ASF, and you can give some logical explanations to ASF. Okay, so for in my case, I learned it by AstroTurs. Okay, so Astro and Turs. So you can come up with anything of your own. And once you know about Arial, so the Times New Roman would be the opposite. Moving on. Okay, so let's check the ARC title, sans serif. So sans serif means it should be Arial or any other sans serif font. It should be 20 center. Okay, so let's go one by one. ERC title, right click, you click on modify. Arial 20 center. So Arial 20, and it is indeed center aligned. It has to be all capitals, and they must be single line spacing, so it is all capitals. Okay, so you can see from the example, and it's clearly written here as well, the property of the style. The line spacing is single, and there is no space before, but there is 12 points of space afterwards. So we have a single line spacing, okay, and we have a 12 after point. Okay, so in order to verify the 12 after point, you will go to paragraph, and you can see here that it's clearly written 0 before and 12 after points. Alright, so this is correct. We move on to ARC subtitle now. So it has to be Arial 18 and right aligned. Subtitle. So it is Arial 18, it is right aligned. Okay, so it is correct so far. Then we have italic and single. So it must be italic, it is, and it must be single spaced. Okay, so it is indeed single space, and it must have 12 space points afterwards, and it has 12 points. Okay, so no need to change it either. Then we have ARC subheading, that is serif. Okay, so a common example, like I said before, would be Times New Roman. So Times New Roman 16 and center aligned, your subheading. So Times New Roman 16 center aligned. Okay, so this is left aligned, we have to make it center aligned. We did that. Then we have bold and underlined and single spacing, so you have to make it bold and underlined, so no italicizing. So we undo that, and the line spacing is single and 12 point afterward spacing. So we have single spacing and we have 12 point afterwards. So just to confirm, we go to paragraph, and it is indeed correctly done. Okay, so we have bold and underline, it is, yes, so this works. We click on okay, so this is what we need to put in the evidence document. Okay, so this was our subheading. So you open the snipping tool, you press Ctrl N, and you take a screenshot of this to show that the changes have been done. This would be your evidence 3, just to make sure once. Yes, this would be evidence 3. Okay, we paste the screenshot here. Okay, next up we have ARC body. So in ARC body, let's by the way, it's always a good practice to check after you switch the windows that the changes have been successfully saved. Okay, because sometimes we forget and sometimes they are undone, you know, it could always happen. So just make sure you check the ERC subheading once it is bold, not italicized, and it is correct. Times New Roman 16. Okay, so body is Times New Roman 14 and justified. So body is Times New Roman, okay, it's Arial. Okay, so it must be Times New Roman 14 and justified. So Times New Roman 14, and this is left alignment center, right, and this is your justified. Okay, justified means that everything from the corners is evenly distributed, the font basically. So double line spacing, okay, so you can click on this and it would show you that from single space we go to double line spacing. And the last thing is first line indent 1 centimeter from the left. Now in order to do that, okay, one more thing, there are no enhancements. Okay, so it doesn't ask you to embolden the text, but it is clearly done here, so you unbold this. And now to add first line indent 1 centimeter from the left, we again go to the paragraph, and here you can see, okay, so one common mistake students do is they'll be tempted to write 1 centimeter here, okay, because you know you're always panicking in the actual exam. So please don't do that. It clearly says only the first line indent, not the whole paragraph. So you have to go to special and you'll put first line and then you'll give 1 centimeter. Okay, so it clearly shows only the first line is indented, the rest of the paragraph follows the same pattern. Okay, you click on OK. So this looks very neat now. Okay, so we're done with that as well. Now we are on to ARC table. So it is again Times New Roman 14 and left. So ARC table, modify, Times New Roman 14 and left aligned. Okay, that's correct. Then we have there is no enhancement, so let's check, is there any enhancement? No, there is no enhancement done. Okay, there's nothing. Then you have single line spacing and no before and after spacing. So you have a single line space and you have a no before or after spacing. This is also correct. I think we forgot to put yes, so we forgot to put the other one in the evidence. It was ARC body. So you need to take a screenshot of this, Control N to make a new screenshot. You select the area, you press Control C and you go back to the evidence file and you put it here. Yes, it's done correctly. By the way, I always prefer snipping tool over paint because it's just you know, very much convenient to crop the screenshot right there and then. So we have successfully done this part as well. We are on to part 6 now. So change the text layout so that the subheading, our international course, and all the following text is displayed in 2 columns, okay, of equal width with 1 centimeter space in between them. So all the text followed by this must be split into 2 columns with equal width and 1 centimeter space between them. So you can either, you know, go line by line like this, or you can just put your pointer here, just use Control Shift and end, so it will take you directly to the end of the document. And make sure that you go 1 space back to ensure that the format is done correctly, otherwise it wraps around the whole document. Okay, so you have selected the document and you want to split it into 2 columns. So you go to columns, you go to more columns for the spacing option. So it has to be 1 centimeter space between them. So 2 columns with a spacing of 1 between them, and make sure that they are equal column width. Okay, and here we have successfully done the splitting of page into 2 columns. Perfect. Now we have to import the image M219 that should be put at the start of the paragraph below the subheading Y Jirash. Okay, so Jirash kind of sounds like a Pokemon, you know. So let's search Y Jirash. Okay, we found Y Jirash up here. Sorry, my mouse is kind of malfunctioning right now. Okay, so we have to put the image directly below YGRash. So place this at the start of the paragraph below the subheading. Okay, so in order to avoid any sort of inconsistencies, let's bring YGRash onto the next page like this. Okay. Before you import the image, please make sure that all the enhancements are undone, otherwise they'll affect our image. So you go to insert, you go to pictures, you go to the path wherever your image is saved, and you insert it successfully like this. Just always keep saving your work. Okay. So you have to remove the bottom third of the image now. So you click on the format, you click on crop. Now this would be the first half, this would be almost the second, and this would be the third. Okay, so just approximate it. There's no need to bring geometry and advanced mathematics in here. This is simple. Okay, so resize the image so that it is 6.5 centimeters wide. So you again click on format, you have to make it 6.5 centimeters of width. Perfect. Okay, one more thing before we go to the next part, the image has to be left aligned. Okay, nowhere it said that it has to be center aligned, so you have to make sure of this, otherwise it would cause mistakes in the consequent parts. So align the text. So align the image to the top of the text, the city flourished through. So we have the city flourished through right here. So you have to wrap the text around this, and then you have to align it with the left margin. So you click on format and the text should wrap tightly around it. Okay, and once you've done the wrapping, then you are going to right click and you go on to size and position, and you go to position. Okay, so we can clearly see it's already aligned with the margin, but just for the sake of precision, we click on margin. Okay, so now it's correctly relative to the margin. Okay, perfectly done. We have one space here, I think, so this should be removed. Alright, so it has ruined the formatting. Okay, so we'll just select the text that has been ruined and we will just convert it back to body. Okay, this is very nice. So make sure that the text wraps around the image. We have already done that. Okay, so the text is indeed wrapping around the image. Format the first row of the table by merging the three columns. Okay, so the table is here, so this is our first row. Let's make sure that it's on one side instead of two. So you are going to select the first row. Okay, so you can select the cells individually, or you can click at the start of the cell and you hold Alt, Shift and End. Okay, so this can select the whole field at once. So once you've done that, you're going to merge it. Perfect. Center align the text in the merged cell. So you are just going to center align it and shade the merged cell with a light gray background. So you are going to select the background with this bucket tool and you can fill it with a light shade of gray. Okay, here we have done that. Question 13. Apply the ERC subhead style to the top two rows of the table. So you select the first two rows of the table. So you see you are missing this. So you can, again, if you want to select text in the table, so you can hold Control Shift and then you can press right arrow. Okay, and make sure that there are no extra selection at the end. So just go one space back and you have to apply the ERC table on it, and we have done that. I think there is some mistake with the ERC table. The ERC table is supposed to be, I think bit. Okay, so it is serif 14 and left. Oh, wait a second. We have to apply. Oh, sorry. We have to apply the subheading to the first two rows. Okay, so that's what I was thinking. So we again send it to the next page. Okay, done. Now for the remaining rows, you have to apply the ERC table formatting. So you select again you press Alt Shift and End, and you so you can do Control Alt Shift, just press Shift and select everything here, okay, and you have to make it ERC Table, and here we go. Make sure that the table fits within the column width with no words split on text wrap. Okay, this is correct because no text is indeed wrapping and there are no external grid lines. Okay, so you have to make sure that there are no blank rows in the table. Since there's a blank row, we select this, we go to delete cell and we delete the entire row like this, and we save our work. All internal and external grid lines are displayed on print. We'll click on grid lines. Okay, so this will show the grid lines, how they would be actually printed on the paper. Now in order to show the grid lines, you can simply go to view and you click on the grid lines. Okay, so now you can see all the grid lines that are in our document on the page. Spell check and proofread the document. So let's disable them for now. Okay, so we have to spell check and proofread, just to make sure that the proofreader is working correctly. In case it is not, so you can go to file, you go to options, and you can go to proofing, and in here you have to enable all these options. Okay, so then it can check for the errors. Okay, so we have okay, and other thing, we can access all the mistakes through a hotkey. Okay, so through a shortcut, we just need to press Alt and F7, and then we can go straight to the first example like this. Okay, so you can connect it to huge, and again you press Alt F7 and it takes you to venturing. Okay, then you take F7. Alright, so it says spelling and grammar check is complete. Perfect. I think in other case Jirash would have been an error and Tawara would have been an error as well, so you just need to add them into dictionary. Okay, so then they won't trouble you again. Make sure that there are no widows or orphans. Okay, so widows or orphans, they are basically the parts of the paragraph that could be at the start of the page or at the end of the page. Okay, so basically they're left all alone, exactly like this. Okay, so the topic or the subtitle of the paragraph is left on this side, whereas the paragraph is started in the next column. Okay, so I press enter and I make it consistent. Any other thing? No, I don't think so. We are free from all the widows and orphans. Okay, so just make sure that you check it properly. So if you have any paragraph whose line is starting on a new page or in the next column, or it could be the first line, the last line, you just need to make sure that it becomes a part of the remaining paragraph. Okay, so the table is not split over 2 columns or pages. Well, indeed, our table is correctly done, so no issues. Correct house styles applied, we have done that. Spacing between all the items is consistent, that is also correct. Save the document using the same file name and format used in step 1, and you have to print the document. Okay, so we have done it from task 1 to task 2. Perfect.